Well, another week bites the dust. Week 22 of 40 is done. Wow. Okay, let's get to the recap. Okay, everybody. Week 22. Um, I think it's safe to say that week 22 is going to go in the books as, at least to date, the toughest week I've had since I started training for this Ironman, and maybe training from the beginning. It was an ugly week. The long run, and the long bike were plagued with some just crazy winds, as strong as I can remember them, which really caused some challenges during those workouts. So let's go ahead and get to this summary of the mileage, and then I'll explain. Okay, so week 22, a little bit screwy here on the distances. My swim, 5,550 yards, 105 miles on the bike, and 8.6 miles on the run, with a total active work time of 8 hours and 58 minutes. Okay. Again, a little bit distorted due to the holidays, and had to switch some workouts around. But okay, so conditions. Let's talk about that weather. So the temperatures, humidity weren't terrible, but the wind, wow, played a huge factor in my workouts. I don't know what's going on. I know we have cold fronts this time of year, but this was different. So last week, went to the hill country. Didn't have time to get a run in on this to start the week on a Sunday, so I ended up doing a 20 mile trainer ride inside. So no big deal on the weather. But that Thursday long run, uh, man, it's climbing the charts as the worst run ever. I mean, it was bad. Um, so I'm sure we had a cool front, or whatever that came through. But that wind was easily sustained 20, mid 20s, 25 mile an hour, 22, 23, 24, with some 35 mile an hour gusts, according to the news. And I believe it. I mean, absolutely. You're running on that waterway that have tall buildings in there, and some of that's like a wind tunnel. And it almost stopped me in my tracks. I mean, I'm not flying, of course. I've got about a 9-minute pace, but it was brutal. So the wind, and then it must have picked up dust. I've got allergies, so I don't know if it was the dust in the air, but the air quality must have been really bad as a result. Because I mean, I had asthma as a kid, and that's exactly what I felt like. Started on that run, all of a sudden I could not get a full breath of air in my lungs, and when I exhaled, with my 3-2 breathing, I normally am pretty forceful with my exhale, and I just could not get the air to exhale. And I remember that as a kid. And then I was wheezing, so obviously everything was tight. Um, and it eased up a little bit on the second half of the run, but then it kind of came back, and it was just bad. Could not wait to get that run over. It was an 8.5 mile run. Um, Normally, no big deal, but wow, it was brutal. So then let's fast forward to the Saturday long bike. That was a 65-mile bike, out and back, my normal trip to the national forest. A lot of that's a lot of pine trees, so it creates some break in the wind. It also creates some channeling, so that wind finds its way in the right of way there, and very few times do you end up with a tailwind. It's always a crosswind or a headwind, or nothing helps. And so, when I went out that morning, I remember the Weather Channel showing us to have a 3 mile an hour wind. Well, I knew that wasn't right because we never have 3 mile an hour winds. Um, but let me tell you, you can see on that video, the the wind was 20, and after the ride, I went to the Conroe Airport. There's a site there that shows wind speed. During that time, I was up on the bike and sustained mid 20s with some 30 mile an hour gusts. So, and I believe it. It was crazy strong, really unpleasant. I remember a few times up some hills that I've never had to get out of my seat, and I was having to grind outside off the saddle to get up those hills in fear that I would fall over, going so slow because of the headwind. So I was never so happy to get home on that ride. Then and I've done this a time or two, so it's saying something that ride was probably the worst I've had. So I got to tell you, I'm happy this week is over. Hopefully, we still got a couple of months of true winter time, and we're going to have more of those days, but hopefully I can sidestep some of that really high wind. We'll see. Okay, let's move on to injury update. So no real injuries, although back to that long run, kind of add injury to insult of that bad run. Midway through, my right foot, which is the one I've had the plantar issues in the past, I had this little bit of a snap or I don't I don't know how to explain it. I don't want to overstate it, but something happened, and it was like a little bit of a ting, and then my foot tingled at the plantar area, which is not uncommon if you have that issue. I just got the sense that I stressed something and had some micro tear, and the nerves just said, "Hey, take it easy." Kind of felt it the rest of the run. So when I got home the next day, I don't think I did it that night. The next day, though, I rolled out using a golf ball, which is pretty painful if you do it right, and uh, and it was pretty painful. But I rolled that out. I think I did it twice over the next 2 or 3 days after that run, and seemed to solve the issue. And so just it's really about maintenance, I think. But I'm gonna have to keep my eye on it as I start increasing my mileage. Hopefully, I don't have to go back too early to see Dr. Evans. We'll just kind of monitor it, and I'll let you know what's going on in the coming weeks. So, okay, so summary. Thank the Lord we're through this week. That's all I can say. We're only 3 days from Christmas, so about to shut things down and look forward to enjoying the festivities. So, hope you guys have a good Christmas. Signing off, and we'll see you next week.